So the year is 1991, MTV is 10 years old, grunge music was the new sound, and the world meets Hannibal for the first time on the big screen. And Arnie's robot was protecting people rather than killing them. In gaming, the Super Nintendo was released in the USA and the Sega CD was released in Japan. For fighting games, this is essentially the start of everything for the genre.
In March, Capcom released Street Fighter II in arcades, and this has to be the most influential fighter games of all time, redefining the genre as we know it. We'll get to Street Fighter II and its various versions another time. But this is still important as the man who made the original Street Fighter, released in 1987, Takashi Nishiyama, is no longer working for Capcom. He was working for the SNK, and he had created his successor to the original Street Fighter in the same year in hopes to rival the new Street Fighter. In November, SNK released Fatal Fury King of Fighters into arcades all around the world except for Japan, which was called Garu Densetsu Shokume no Tatakai, or to give its English translation for the weebs out here, Legend of the Hungry Wolf, The Battle of Destiny. The plot for the game centers around a martial arts tournament known as the King of Fighters Tournament, held in the fictional American city of Southtown and sponsored by local crime boss Geese Howard. 10 years prior to the events of the game, Geese murdered a rival martial artist named Jeff Bogart who was on his trail. Now Jeff's adopted sons Terry and Andy, along with their friend Joe Higashi, enter the tournament to get their revenge on Geese.
So when you start Fatal Fury, you are asked to choose between the three characters, Terry, Andy or Joe, each of them having their own special fighting style and special moves to boot. For instance, Terry's special moves are Burnt Knuckle, Power Wave, Crack Shoot and Rising Tackle. Just like the old Street Fighter games, due to it being from the same creator, special moves are amplified in damage, so if you want to win, you have to do these moves. The only problem is, these moves are a pain in the arse to do. Sometimes you're left teabagging the floor multiple times just to get Crack Shoot out, which is an absolute pain in the arse. Another interesting aspect of Fatal Fury is its two-plane system, so rather than having a flat background and you fight left to right, you can actually change between the fore and the background, giving you that sort of fake 3D element, jumping from fore and background in the stage. The only problem is though, you the player can't do it because there is no button command to do it. You have to wait for the computer to jump stage before you can jump from stage to stage, which sort of defeats the whole object of it, but doesn't. It's kind of a weird mix of it, and you can't really complain. It's a cool way that Fatal Fury distances itself from any other fighting game with this sort of kind of 3D aspect of a 2D game. Yeah, we're going to go with that. Another cool mechanic in Fatal Fury is the way it adds its second player. Rather than stopping the fight completely, you can actually drop in as the fight's going on, as a sort of like a beat 'em up sort of thing. So you can be on one plane and your friend can be on the other while you're beating down the opponent on the other side of the screen. It's like a handicap match, a 2-on-1 handicap match, if you're having problems, because boy, you're going to have problems with these enemies. Also, after every second match or so, you are greeted to a minigame in which you have to beat a machine in an arm wrestling match. To do so, and to win, you have to commit an act of grievous bodily harm to your A button.
So you have to go through multiple fighters to get to the main man at the end. The problem is that they're all impossible to defeat. Well, except that Capoeira dude in the cafe. Yeah, don't ask. There are many of these guys ready to take your tokens away from your pocket. From tornado-throwing Mike Tyson, to the drunk master Muay Thai guy, to the old man who, if you get him down to half of his health, he turns into Mega Hulk Old Man, who can kill you in 2 hits with his tornado punch of doom. To a nightclub owner who's pissed he missed a Street of Rage audition and decides to beat your ass for it. Seriously, what the fuck did we do? To many more of these maniacs trying to beat you and make you want to pick up the arcade machine and throw it up a wall. Then after the trials of all the arcade mode before Geese, you fight a big asshole in a mask looking like a failed wrestler with a drinking problem. And then we meet stick-swinging son of a bitch Billy Kane. This is essentially SNK saying, "Hey player, well done for getting this far. Now give me your money." As if Billy or Raiden hits you once, you're as good as dead. And if you finally get past Kane with any money and sanity left, you can get ready for the big boss of Southtown. Oh baby, he killed your dad and now he's gonna beat your ass too, because unlike any of the guys who've bullied you out of your money for the past hour, or 4, He can input read you and will kill you in a few hits. He also can throw power waves in quick succession, and not to mention his throw counter has no animation, so if you go for a punch, ha! Sit yourself down, boy, and take a third health for your trouble.
These cheap and hard bosses and sub-bosses became synonymous with SNK fighters. Throughout their fighting games, you would have the bosses use cheap and dastardly tactics to defeat the player and steal all their money. Unlike a Capcom fighter or any other fighter for that fact, the boss was seen to be the hardest in the game, but he was easily defeated after a couple of tries. These, however, you had to resort to your own cheap and dastardly tactics, which didn't make you feel really like the champion you were supposed to be. For instance, in this version of Fatal Fury, I found that throwing geese and then throwing a power wave straight after with Terry did the job. I'm not proud, I don't feel like the king of fighters, but I beat him anyway.
So when you finally beat Geese after the pride-shattering and money-stealing fight that SNK will be known for in the future, you get to kick that asshole out of the window, finally avenging your father or friend's father if you were Joe, and you will carry on with your life until next time.
You know, Fatal Fury does have its flaws. You know, the clunky controls, the difficulty spike, which is nigh on impossible sometimes, but there's a charm to it. Be it a beat you up and take your lunch money charm to it. You know, it wasn't taken as well by the critics. You know, it wouldn't have been, because Street Fighter 2, the genre-making game, had came out in the year, and anything that come out after it would have been under that microscope of scrutiny. You know, this isn't the end for Fatal Fury as a series, far from it, or even as SNK as a fighting game company, again, which we'll be covering in the future, so stay tuned for that. Fatal Fury was in a good base with good characters and a memorable sort of story that would take it further. So, in our eyes, Fatal Fury, it should belong in with the start of the fighting game genre. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video, a little breakdown of Fatal Fury with myself, Simon, Ty, Sumi, and of course Remix. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for some more foolishness and videos like this, and stay tuned for some highlights for us playing the games we feature. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you soon.